Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video. And today we are taking a look at the McFarlane Kickstarter Spawn. This is going to be the classic version, so we get the red foil here on the side. Really good looking packaging that they did, but I'm not going to do a full unboxing. I think there's enough YouTubers out there that have done that. I still just kind of wanted to show the box off a little bit though, because it is pretty nice. Let me get this cardboard out of the way. We do get a little bit of like a spot varnish there. You can see the Spawn logo. Very cool looking, but let me move the camera back and we'll open this up. All right, and now that we got the camera pushed back, you can really see how big this box really is. We got the little flap here on the side, and there we go. Open it up, and we can see we have Spawn on display, all sorts of stuff. You know what? Let's just kind of get this all unboxed here, and we'll get a closer look at all these accessories, the paperwork, and then obviously we're going to get a better look at the figure here. And here is the classic Spawn outside of the packaging. And I was going to do a whole unboxing video thing, and I figured, you know what, forget it. Let's just get in and look at the figure and the accessories. Real quick, I will show you, though, you do get a certificate of authenticity so that we know that McFarlane signature I got there is real. You get this little checklist, which seems unnecessary, but it's comparing this version of the figure to the 1994, like 5 points of articulation figure. And then we do get the special edition comic book, which is going to be in its nice sleeve there, and it serves as the card back. So I might keep that in the sleeve or at least get it on a board, but I think I'll probably leave it there. But we do get all these different accessories here, and again, this is the Trilogy 3-pack version, so when I open the Modern Spawn, I'm not going to have another signature, whereas if you ordered just a Modern Spawn, I believe you did get one. But let's go ahead, we're going to move Spawn out of the way, let's take a look at the accessories first, get some details, then we'll take a look at the figure. And let's just start first here with his giant sword, and real quick, you can see some good old McFarlane sculpt quality there. Really intricate design. It's going to be the same on both sides, but you get the Spawn logo there, and then we get these little rune designs going all the way down, and then you can even see right there on the inner portion there a little bit of sculpt work. It's not there, but it picks up right down there. Is it the same on that side? Yeah, and then going down towards the hilt here, I mean, the crossguard looks really well done. You get some subtle paint work there. And then you're going to have the actual hilt and pommel down there. And the pommel does actually come off. You just kind of got to work it a little bit. I got it off much easier earlier. Oh, there we go. So the pommel does come off, and the whole point of that is so that you can take these weapon holding hands that you can see are molded completely shut, and that way you can slide it in, put the pommel back on, and then he's going to have a very firm grip on that sword. You don't have to worry about it coming loose or anything like that. So that's actually a pretty cool design there. Jumping over now to the assault weapon that we get here. Again, just some intricate design work done there. Some good paint. It's not overly painted. We just get the silver there for some of the parts. And then we can even see that we have a bit of a wash over them. And we get that bayonet looking dangerous as ever. Yeah, I really like that. And then we're going to have a weapon holding hand for this as well, which is this one that is slightly open. And it's going to work on left or right because there is a hand for each. And you just kind of position the finger in place there. And then you will have a pretty decent grip on that as well. So, yeah, no real worries about the weapons coming out. That's actually something pretty nice when you pay for a figure like this. It's nice to have something where it's not going to droop or anything like that. But yeah, really well done there as well. And then paying its respects to the board with the nail in it that we got with the original toy, we're going to get this club here, and that's going to have this giant hook sticking out of it. We see all the nails. Kind of wish there would have been a little bit more paint on the nails, just so that they didn't actually, for the most part, match the wood. But you can see we do get some paint there of the wood as well, just to help bring out those details. And that's going to look really good. Now this one, I haven't tried it. Yeah, that's not going to fit. So you're going to have to do one of the weapon holding hands for this one. It looks like it should go in without too much trouble though. It's a little bit loose in there, but I'm sure you can make it work. And in fact, probably even have them hold it up a little bit higher. Yeah, there we go. Now it's holding in place. So that's going to work for that as well. And again, just good design on it. You know, even the hook portion here, we can see like little chips and chunks there. And I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it looks good. Then we're going to get a couple of necroplasm pieces here. So this first one having these 3 beams kind of shooting out. And you can see some good sculpt work there. It's kind of hard to see because of the translucent green, but it's certainly a fitting plastic for the necroplasm. And then we do have the handle down there, which we can go back to that weapon holding hand. And you got to watch out this little piece there that goes around. But if you get that in there, and you can see that's going to fit back in there again, and that piece will wrap around and help hold it in place. So you're going to be able to use that weapon holding hand to have this necroplasm coming out from his hand, kind of like some extended Wolverine claws there. So that looks really cool. And then we're also going to get this dagger, which out of the box, mine came warped. This thing I'm not overly worried about. I mean, I'll be able to heat it up. It's a relatively simple material here. I mean, you can see I'm even straightening it just like that. So if I heat it up and straighten it out, I'm sure it'll be fine. But I don't know, the dagger's cool, I guess, but certainly not one of the cooler features that we got with this figure. And then as far as extra hands go, even though we've already seen them, so we do get a left and right hand that are going to have the opening for the sword or the necroplasm, so either or. And then we're also going to have a left and right hand that are going to be the other weapon holding hands. And those are just going to be slightly open, but they're the same sculpt otherwise. So we do get those as alternate hands for Spawn. And before we jump in and look at the figure and the extra head sculpt, just looking at the last 2, I guess we'll call them accessories, we get this little disc stand here, says record-setting figure. We get a single peg there, and then just Spawn 1994 to 2021. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool, but it seems unnecessary. I haven't had any problem standing the figure up. And then last but not least, just to show the signature, you can see that that actually does have, evidence that it was a marker. This is not printed, so really cool of Todd to sit there and sign however many thousands of these that he had to do. So that's actually really cool that I got his signature. It's not something that I actually don't have like any real artist signatures or anything like that. That's something I never got into. But cool little stand holder and stuff, so yeah, real happy for that. All right, getting up close, and we'll start first with the classic head sculpt that comes on the figure. And man, that is awesome looking. I will admit, that is the one thing that I have my gripes about McFarlane's stuff, but it's never to do with the sculpt and the paintwork, though. I love that you can even see like evidence of teeth underneath that face, the wrinkles. Man, that is just a really well done look, and it came out looking really good. My first complaint, though, has to do with this neckline, and not necessarily because of the way they did it, in the sense of like having a separate neckline. Like the head is articulated on it, but it moves around so much that if you want to articulate the head, the easier thing to do is probably going to be to pull it off of this peg. There we go. And you can see the peg underneath there. So pull it off the peg, and you can see we get this weird shape to it, and it ports in right at the bottom, but then just rotate the head however you want it to look, and then get it ported back into the spot here. But I will say that this part of the cape here, and I don't know if this is just mine, but I kind of had to sort of stick it under there because I was having a hard time when I was trying to put it on. You can kind of see how it was hitting, so I kind of had to make sure I just angled it just right. But even when putting it back on, I just feel like it's not going down all the way, I guess. I'm not really sure, but still looks pretty good, though. And then, like I said, you can pose it however you want before doing that. But, no, actually, I'll leave it in here. Let's take a look. Well, we'll put it on there. I was going to put the other head sculpt, or not put the other head sculpt on, but we will put that on. So then we have the screaming head sculpt here. And the only downside here is we don't get any articulation. It is going to be a pre-posed piece. Before we get it on the figure, though, looking at some of that paint and detail, that is really gruesome looking and really well done. And I love the fact, though, that we get some differences. They get like the bone color there, kind of showcasing that we're looking at his skull instead of just having it all, this brown. But man, that looks really good. And then we're going to stick that on here as well. And see, this one I was having kind of a hard time too. With the pre-pose, it is going to be looking off in a direction, so you can maneuver it around if you want to, but it's going to look weird, especially if you want him to look the opposite direction. It's going to have that big bulbous spot there sticking out. So that's the only downside with this particular one. And boy, I feel like I'm going to break that peg too. I'm just trying to be a little bit more careful than what I normally would, but if we can get it back down there, that is really cool looking, and I really like the, again, just the design and the paint on it. I just wish that maybe it wasn't pre-posed, but man, I still just love that work that they did. You know, it's certainly not anything too crazy. I mean, realistically here, so we have a couple shades of green, we have some brown, we have some black, you have the color for the teeth, which looks like it's the same color there. So there's not a whole lot of variation of color on it, but it still looks really good. But let's take a look here. Actually, before I do that, you can see some of the shading on the cape here. And the cape is going to be relatively firm. So that's going to be pre-posed too, with kind of that swoop going that way. But let's get his head back on. There we go. And then look at some of the rest of the features on this guy. So getting up close here on his chains. Skulls came out looking really good, and of course these are real chains. Get a little bit of a tarnished look to them. Really well done. Checking out the torso. So this has been a point of contention for a lot of people, and certainly one of my points of contention is the pre-pose here with this sort of twist that he has in the torso. It's growing on me, I will admit, and I've seen some people that haven't had too hard of a time posing him, so I'll give it a chance. I really wish that we would have gotten what he was trying to do, with, as far as what Todd was trying to do, which is to have like a rubber material that would allow some posability but not break up the sculpt. But ultimately, Todd is going to do what I expected him to do, which is favor the sculpt over the articulation. I mean, I can't blame him. It does look really good. And I guess we'll just see how articulate this figure is here once I try to do some photos. This is fresh out of the box. Like, this is all actual first impressions here. I haven't really messed with him that much. But let's take a look what we got here on the arm. Good looking spikes there. I mean, all the paint came out looking pretty good. I don't really see too many issues there. The hands that come out of the box, we get this open gesture, like clawing pose. So that looks good, but I love that we even get shading, just on the inside of the hands there, the arm. You get some shadowy effects going on. We're going to have the same thing on this side. I can't remember. Well, maybe not. I couldn't remember if, like, the bands here that the spikes are on were painted black, but glancing over here at the cover artwork that we have on the comic book, they're not. I guess looking at the torso too, again, just pointing out some of that shading right there that really helps to highlight the muscles. And I mean, that is good sculpt work. I can't deny that. Going down to the skull there on the belt, and we see again just the chains with the tarnished and real chains again. Not bad. The buckles on here, we even get some paint work, and the paint is quite accurate there. So that is nice. Is that even shading on the... No, it doesn't look like it. Maybe not. But the sculpt work on the legs came out looking really good. And then the sculpt work on the spikes again. Yeah, man, that is really good. Looking at the cape here overall, let me see if I can get them far enough back. My review station is actually a little bit smaller than I realized here for looking at figures that are a bit oversized. But on the back side of the cape here, we can see some more shadowing and just airbrushing going on, and that looks really good. Whoop. That looks really good on there. And I love that you can see too that this cape has a texture to it. It's not just flat, which I wouldn't have expected it to be, but I'm glad to see that it wasn't. And that is one big, that is one big molded piece. Does not come off. That is kind of a downside when looking at like the shoulders for the articulation standpoint. This is like solid. There is very little give in these shoulder pieces, so that's going to limit some of that articulation, I know, once we take a look at it. But we do have these hinges here, which are very well hidden, so that way you can fold the cape in if you wanted to and get some different poses going on there with the cape folded in. waving out. Yeah, something like that where you got the wind blowing. Yeah, that looks really cool. And then let's see, what else do we have here? Sorry, this isn't like one of my normal reviews, guys. This is really more of like a on the spot kind of checking this guy out. I guess I already went over the articulation on the head. We already looked at that. So let's take a look at some of the rest of the articulation here. Oh, did I just see? Thought I saw like a little piece of paint fly off. So the arms actually, looking at it, kind of come down a little bit. So that way you are able to get a little bit more out of it. So yeah, you got a little bit of wiggle there. So that's kind of cool. It doesn't look like it's a full butterfly joint or anything like that, but yeah, you can see that there is enough wiggle there that it kind of drops down a little bit to help bring that up. So that's actually kind of cool, I suppose. Do we have a bicep swivel? We do. Man, why does it feel like it's so stiff, though? It's in there. So you got a bicep swivel, but then we also have a swivel at the elbow. So I guess it depends on how you want to do that pose. But it looks like I almost have to pose it independently there, like grab the bicep to move it. It is only a single jointed elbow, but we do get about 90 degrees out of it. And then we do have full rotation and a hinge at the wrist. And that is going to be just the regular flexion and extension. It doesn't have like a ball joint or anything to help you pose it, you know, like different styles where you could have the hands go in different ways, which I didn't even look at the weapon holding hands. Yeah, see, man, I wish it would have had that ulnar and radial type of hinge on the weapon holding hands, because then we could have him like holding the sword straight out or something. So that is kind of a bummer. So there's no torso articulation other than at the waist, and that is going to have some wiggle on it, so that's not bad. Okay. I mean, I don't think you'll be able to get him like that because his cape is hitting right now, but you do get a little bit of articulation there. His legs, I remember Todd actually did a video. His legs do come apart quite far. This is a bit of a rubber material here at the hip, so that way it doesn't get in the way of the legs. If we want to kick forward, I'm really trying to be careful here, but I feel like I'm being more gentle than I need to be. But he can kick forward a little bit. There's no... Well, okay. I'm going to say there's no thigh cut, but we do have a little bit of rotation there on this leg, but there is a cut right here below the pouches, so you do have some wiggle room there. He does have double jointed knees. Let's see what we get out of that. More than what we're really going to be able to utilize, and it looks like the spike is going to hit the back of the leg right about there. And then we do have another cut right here just above the ankle and below the spikes on both legs. And then you do have an ankle hinge. We do have some ankle pivot. We do have a toe articulation there. And then when looking at the ankle, I can't tell if the upper portion of the ankle can move independently or not. I didn't really want to try because the articulation here at the upper ankle seems like enough if I need to change the direction of the foot. But let's go ahead and I'm going to do some posing here. Let's do a little photo montage, see what kind of poses I can get him in, and then we'll wrap up with my final thoughts. And that's going to do it for this look at the Kickstarter spawn, everyone. And this ended up being one of my favorite poses that I was able to get him into, just because it's actually pretty dynamic. I was really wanting to find a way to utilize the hamburger head here, and we managed to figure that out. I like, the classic plank here too. So I think this is actually some variation of this kind of pose will work really well. Like, it works well with that sculpt, works well with that. But going over it, and you'll probably agree that most of those poses and those pictures were pretty lackluster. And to be honest with you, like, trying to get him in some cool poses holding the weapon in a way that looks like he's attacking, couldn't make it work. The only pose I could get him was basically just holding the gun. The arms would not come across to where I could even have it to where the gun was like being aimed or being held by the secondary hand. So, I mean, you could have it sticking straight out, but it looks silly having a one-handed or one-armed pose with the assault rifle sticking straight out. This guy here, the necroplasm, looked pretty cool, so I think there's some good things that might be able to be done with that. The sword would have been a lot cooler if the articulation in the weapon-holding hand would have had the different style hinge, or if we could get it to where he could like hold the sword, off to the side and up and down that way, instead of basically being able to flex it that way. Like, kind of same with this, like that's, I don't like that style hinge for weapon holding hands. I just don't. Hasbro's starting to catch on. I wish Todd would have thought about that beforehand too. So my final thoughts, and I know there's a couple things that we probably skipped over on this review. I really just wanted you to get a good look at the figure. But my final thoughts are, it's a cool figure, and I think this was roughly worked out to be about $40. I mean, you get some superior quality in terms of having real chains. We get a good amount of accessories, and there's a lot of work that went into it. It's just going to be kind of what I figured it was going to be, which is to find a cool, I like to call them the trading card poses, and that's really it. You're going to get a couple of cool poses out of them, stick them up on the shelf, and that'll probably be it. I don't know how many times I've actually watched a couple of these reviews where people are just saying they're going to have them just standing, straight up, essentially make a statue out of it. I'm not going to complain as much to say that this is basically just a somewhat articulated statue, because there is some posability. The most limiting thing that I had with the posability was this cape. It would have been amazing if he could have figured out how to do a cloth cape with a wire in it, but as it sits, I have no problem getting him to stand up, because this cape is so back heavy that he goes back to that every time. So this little disc stand that we got with it is going to be completely unnecessary from what I can see. So yeah, I don't know. It's cool, and it has a place in my collection, that is for sure. I just wish there was a few minor tweaks that really would have made this stand out that much more. And even, I'm not even going to say, make this articulated. Like, literally a different hinge on the hand would have been a big start. And then just something different with the cape. That would have been a huge undertaking, though, to have could have been a stretch goal or something that he could have had. I did want to mention, though, this guy. I noticed I had a little splotch of black there on the white. That was the only paint error I found while posing him. So, and I guess I will point out too, I didn't go over it. These hands come out pretty easily for swapping between the different hands. So, I know I didn't show that, but there you go. But anyway, that is it for this look at the classic Kickstarter Spawn. Make sure to stick around. I do have the modern Spawn, so we'll take a look at that and check that out. Mostly just going to be going over the accessories, I think, and some of the slight differences in design. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to hit that thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe for more content just like this. And as always, thanks for watching my video, and have a great day.